Duncan Raban, I've known you over 40 years and you've always been a rascal. Where does this come from?
A rebel. It's a hard question to answer, like who we are and why we're like we are and why I do what I do through my career and even what I do today. Everything is kind of against the rules, if you know what I mean.
Let's go back to the very beginning. How did you get into football?
I eventually got a job on a new football magazine. It was called the Football Handbook. Yeah. So this magazine, one thing it used to do was we did these things called skills sessions. So we'd go and photograph a player shooting their skill, and then I started doing that for them. I was always sort of craving to sort of try and get something different, you know, and I think I might have said to the editor, you know, we should try and do like someone like Pele, you know, and they said, oh yeah, well, we're going to get to Pele. And then I don't know, 10 days later, I'm in New York and I sneaked into the Giant Stadium and just said hello to Pele with some ice creams, and then he gave me like, 40 minutes of his time. But then the magazine went bust when I was in America. And then I got myself an office underneath the stock exchange. In a place called Throgmorton Street. I got a room with a friend of mine who used to sell paper. We had a room not much bigger than about twice the size of this area here. I had one side, and then I built a dark room with, 4x2, a little dark room. It was like that. And I used to go to football, shoot football on my own, come back, process it, hang the films up, dry them with a hairdryer, cut them up, you know all the stuff, print them in this tiny dark room, and then I'd get on my push bike or my car and I'd take the pictures around the newspapers and try and sell them, or drop them off. I was shooting football, and I liked the idea of showbiz. So I sneaked into a couple of pop galas. Then sort of Live Aid came along. So, but yeah, you no way you get a pass. And I used to go to quite a lot of football matches without passes, sneak in or.
Is this something in your whole career you've been good at, blagging your way past authority?
Yeah. To try and get things from a different point of view. I've always done it.
But how'd you get into Live Aid?
In a nutshell, I went to Wembley at 6:30 in the morning before anyone was there. At an 800 5.6 and a 400 2.8. I can't remember if I had that. Anyway, and then these were the early days of, if I remember correctly, we had those big mobile phones. So I didn't have a pass, but I sort of went to the security gate and just made out. I was sort of talking as if I was on the Daily Mirror. Yeah, we can't get in yet, so the security guards can hear you. I sort of chatted them up, charmed them a bit, and I said, is there any chance we could, I can't wait around here, can I leave my equipment, maybe get it inside the gate? And they opened the gate, and then they let me go up to the press accreditation room. So they took me in there, and he sat there with me for 15 minutes. I talked a bit about his life and stuff, and he said, look, is it all right if I leave you here? And I said, yeah, okay. So that was that would have been about 8 o'clock in the morning. And once he'd gone, I went up into the sort of the top of the stadium, and I sort of hid behind all the seating, or I sat up the top there, and I waited till 10 o'clock when they let the audience in. And once they let people in, then I ran down the steps. Like I said, I had an 800 5.6 and a 400 2.8, and then I got to the front of the crowd. And to cut it short, I shot the whole show from the audience. And because my picture's from a different point of view, because that's the whole thing. Yeah. If you shoot from the audience, you need to be about 20 metres back from stage, 30 metres on a long lens. Yeah. You're not looking, 90% of the photography of music and concerts is from a pit underneath the stage, so you're looking up. Yeah. But if you want to get, an almost eye level, you need to be back. And that's really why I spent 10 years sneaking in concerts, to get eye level and to get exclusive costume changes. And
if you'd have been given passes for all these events, would you have got half the pictures?
No.
And they would have been a different sort of picture. They would have been
what everyone else gets.
You'd have been allowed in for two songs probably.
If you want to get what everyone else gets, go and stand where everyone else is. I guess because of Live Aid, I thought, this is how you got to do it.
This is the formula.
And
you're getting a better angle. You're not looking up people's noses.
And eye level on a. Yeah. So, and then that's again, if you want to get exclusives, and back then, in that sort of period in the late 80s and 90s, there was lots of big tours, big acts, you know, Cher, Madonna, Wham, the Spice Girls, you know, Madonna, Elton, you know, all these Michael Jackson, Bruce Springsteen, they all did tours, and some of the bigger acts, they have 10 costume changes. If you want the 10 costume changes, you need to be in the audience.
In 1995, the Brit Awards, there's some big celebrities there. Tell us about that occasion.
The night before the Brit Awards, I had a phone call saying that Madonna was going to be a surprise guest. I think Elton was performing and Madonna was going to be a surprise guest. I might better wing it and get in, but I didn't have a pass because I'm not a newspaper photographer. You know, I'm not attached to a newspaper or magazine. I'm just Duncan, you know. But I was sort of up through the night, and I don't know where this idea came from, but I just thought if I could get an old camera, maybe I could. I still look back at this, and I don't know how I did it, but I got backstage, bypassed security, got into the backstage area. I think I went up to, I don't know which order it was, but I went up to Elton's manager or whoever and said, could I possibly do a picture with could I get, you know, maybe if I could get Madonna? And they said, well, if you can get her here, she's down there, you know. So I went to Madonna's dressing room. She said, you can have 2 minutes. And so I got Madonna down to Elton's dressing room. Madonna came in. I hadn't met Elton by then. And then they came in and they stood there. And there was like a crowd of people all around, like you get like an entourage. And I suppose in my mind I had this plan. I had a plan, didn't have a plan. I got Elton to bend back and then they were just laughing their heads off. That all happened in about 30 seconds, I reckon. And then I just sort of, Elton says, is there anything else you want? I said, Elton, can you just take your shirt off? And he went, yeah, and he undid his buttons. One of those moments in my life, I look back and think, how did I do that?
How on earth do you get Elton to take his shirt off? I mean,
well,
you'd have thought they'd have been so kind of protected by their minders and whatever.
Yeah,
but they must have been having fun, mustn't they?
They were having fun.
Yeah,
that's what it is. If you can get people having fun and laughing, people do stuff.
And tell us about the Rolling Stones in Ireland. How that came about.
Oh, that just came about. That was in 1993. So that was sort of. He was a big publicist at the time. He was the PR for the Rolling Stones. And then he just rang me up one day and just said, Duncan, tomorrow we need a group shot of the Rolling Stones in Ireland.
Were they recording then, or on tour?
No, they were rehearsing.
Rehearsing.
And they just needed a picture of them in Ireland for tax purposes or something or other. There's this sort of walled garden, you know, beautiful house. And so the gates opened and we went into this beautiful green courtyard. It was a sunny day. And they opened the side of the van and I sort of climbed out and I get out and I'm just getting my camera like that and I sort of looked up and all I could see was this white blur and it was a Great Dane was galloping towards me and he leapt on me and I sort of fell over. Next minute there was sort of Keith Richards and Ronnie there and they were sort of helping me up and I said, oh, and they said, oh, well, do you fancy a drink? So we went into this bar and in one of the barns and it was full of they got me a Guinness and I sat down and then Keith Richards got himself a drink and he sat there in this big sort of wooden like King Arthur chair and then this dog, this Great Dane walked in and it just fell at Keith's feet like whoosh, and Keith put his foot on the dog and he was just looking down at the dog and I thought, wow, there's a picture. And I don't know, about an hour later Mick turned up and where are we going to do this group photo? And I took all the pictures in the space of about 10 or 15 minutes. But I think what was so unique that day was that there was no one there. There was no makeup, no hair and makeup, no publicist, no agent, no one. There was nobody. So they were more natural. And
you had no restrictions. There's no one to stop you. There's no one to stop
none
you.
of this stuff. You can't do that.
Yeah. Tell us about Tina Turner in 1996.
I got chatting to Tina's manager and he said, have you got any ideas how we could photograph Tina in a different way? Yeah, of course. I said, yeah, I'll just come to a hotel suite and I'll get her out of bed and help her get dressed and we'll go out for a day and I'll photograph like a fly on a wall. And I think he said something along the lines of, well, I don't think that's going to happen, you know, but thanks for the suggestion. And literally like a couple of days later, the PR rang me up and said, Tina's going to be in London in a couple of days. They love this idea. A few days later, I'm knocking on Tina's hotel suite door. Never met her, and she's in a dressing gown. Sat down, had a couple of croissants and some coffee, and then I just started taking pictures. So that's how I sort of got to that kind of how I got to do it.
Your great affection for Princess Diana.
Yeah.
Tell us about how you got on with her and how maybe you managed to get a few exclusives there.
I never knew her. I just used to go to a few events quite a lot of events and try and photograph her. And it's very hard to get a nice portrait of her because she often had her head down. So to get her looking ahead is quite difficult. I think she was obviously she got manipulated by the press, but I think she was a very special soul. And there's been no one like her. When Diana turned up at an event, I tell you what, the room glowed like gold. And she just had that princess.
Diana would sell magazines all around the world. They would deliberately put her on the cover.
Yeah.
I mean, it must have been quite a time for All Action and photographers in general. A good picture of Diana would go around the world.
Yeah, you could sell hundreds of pictures of her, but we were always trying to get something a bit different.
And then the tragedy of Paris, where she dies.
I just had a phone call in the middle of the night that Diana was dead. And obviously, I remember crying actually. You just can't believe it, can you? Diana's dead, what happened? And all I did really was went out the next couple of days and early in the morning and photographed the newspapers, Diana dead, all the newspapers. I did that, and then I went to Kensington Palace. I think it was Kensington Palace, and there was obviously flat, as we all know, thousands. So I went and tried to sort of document it,
But you reacted to it. It was something you wanted to record, and the best way you could record it was through the newspapers.
Yeah.
The irony, you're photographing the papers telling you a story. Now, it's always struck me that you've got the nerve of 10 men. I'd love to know where that came from, that incredible confidence and never worrying.
Yeah, I have got a lot of nerve. I don't quite know where that... Because I can give you a completely different example of nerve. Yeah, so in the 1990s, 2 big bombs went off in London, the IRA bomb. And I was having some Marmite on toast one Saturday morning at home, and I heard a thump, like a boof. I thought, what's that? And then on the radio it said, there's been an incendiary device, a bomb in the city of London. And so I'm not a news photographer, but my opportunity department in my brain said, picture opportunity, go and have a look. So I got in a car, drove up to the city, it's all cordoned off. And basically the whole of the city of London had been blown to pieces by this IRA bomb. And so I thought, God, I wonder if I can get to the crater where the bomb is, So how can I? And there was police everywhere, security cordons. You couldn't get in. So I went to Ryman's down at Charing Cross and bought a clipboard and some paper, and then I pinched a hard hat from some roadwork somewhere, and then I just got under the security cordon. And anyway, to cut the story short, I tried to look like I was a surveyor or someone, and I got to the bomb crater. This was literally probably literally an hour and a half after I heard it on the radio. And there's this crater. I mean, you're walking over glass this deep, and the city was blown to pieces. It was eerie. I mean, you could hear a pin drop. So again, having nerve, I got to the crater, and that was front page of the Daily Mirror and some other papers. Again, that was a sort of, let's call it a world exclusive, so I was quite proud, but that's having nerve. The whole thing's a thrill, isn't it? It's a thrill, like
it's a great ride. It's a great
ride, isn't it? It's a ride, and you're always trying to, bit like a singer that performs an album. They get the album and they get all the thing, then they've got to do it again, haven't they? So you're always trying to. And I'm looking for an exclusive and something exclusive every single day of my life, even yesterday.